Hello, everybody. I just wanted to thank you all for coming here. The purpose of my stakeout is to highlight the importance of the meeting that Russia has called for right now and that you will witness. I will make a statement. I don't want to make any spoilers on my statement, but nevertheless, we believe that the situation around Nord Stream sabotage is very important. It is developing in a wrong way. You know that from the outset we were criticizing the investigations from Germany and Denmark, from Denmark, Sweden and Germany. Two of them, of Sweden and Denmark, have already concluded by establishing the fact that there was a sabotage of Nord Stream. This is, of course, something very substantial for 1.5 years of investigation. We are noticing that there are new details transpiring right now about the course of the German investigation, but still it remains very obscure and not transparent for the Security Council, which we think is very bad, because the direction where it all moves is to shift the blame from those who are really behind this sabotage and to present to us kind of scapegoats who maybe were involved of doing this crime, but they couldn't do it alone. I think everybody understands this. And we're serious people in the Security Council and we should engage in serious things. That's why we are not satisfied with this, and we want to raise awareness of everybody that international investigation of this act of sabotage is very important. It's important not only for Russia, not only for Germany, whose economic interests are very much at stake, but also to exclude such situations in the future and not to give a wrong example to all kind of international terrorists and other rogue actors who might be inspired by the inability of international community to find those accountable for this terrorist attack and bring them into justice. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them. Yeah.
I believe you just mentioned an international investigation. Who should do this?
You know that 2.5 years ago we tabled a draft resolution of the UN Security Council. It was not about establishing the terms of reference for international investigation. It was just an appeal to Secretary General to share his thoughts on how this investigation can be conducted. And even such a mild formula scared to death our Western former partners who did everything in their power to sabotage this resolution. It received, if I'm not mistaken, 5 votes of Security Council members, and it was not adopted. After that, we came back to this issue repeatedly, mostly holding closed consultations, but sometimes open briefings, and the result was almost the same. Western countries are promoting the same mantra of the fact that we shouldn't obstruct into the conduct of national investigations and we shouldn't interfere. But the problem is that we are losing precious time, and of course it's very difficult. It's much more difficult to find any circumstances of this terrorist attack after almost 3 years that it occurred. And those who are kind of putting the brake on the investigation are fully aware of this, and I think that's the tactics that they want to pursue, and then to just wave their hands and say that there is nothing we can do, and no more facts can be established after such a long time span.
Ambassador, this issue with China Central Television, actually 2 questions. First, we know recently a suspect has been arrested concerning the Nord Stream sabotage. Do you aware that Russia has inquired to participate in the legal process so that you can gather more information on this, and what's the response? And secondly, we know about Ukraine. On Ukraine, President Trump and other leaders that are talking about the security guarantees. Has Russia ever raised this issue in the Security Council? Maybe there might be, let's say, peacekeeping mandate from the Security Council about that.
Okay, let's do it one by one. So first of all, the investigation. Russia is being absolutely kept in the dark. of this investigation. We repeatedly reached out to Germany, we repeatedly reached out to Sweden, to Denmark when they were conducting their investigations. We referred to the binding bilateral agreements between our countries that would necessitate the legal cooperation on such matters, but they were ignored, and anything that we received were just shallow letters refusing de facto to cooperate. So we don't have any access to the materials of the investigation, which is of course scandalous because we are the most affected country in this regard. The other one is Germany, but it's up to them to take any decisions. As far as security guarantees for Ukraine are concerned, I think this is not a new issue, and I would like to refer you back to the agreement which was initialed by the Ukrainian side in Istanbul in 2022, where there were provisions on security guarantees by the Security Council members and other countries that would like to take part in this kind of arrangement. At this time, it was totally acceptable for Ukraine, at least I would tell you more. It was their proposal to be included in this text, and we agreed with this proposal. We think that any kind of security guarantees should not only be for Ukraine, but for Russia as well, because Russian security is at stake, at risk. European security is also at risk, and we believe, it's our true belief, that any security in Europe shouldn't be achieved at the expense of security of Russia. And the right equation would be with Russia and not against Russia. So the formulas that we hear about right now, they have nothing to do with security guarantees. It's rather about NATO countries' presence in what is remaining of Ukraine. This is not a serious conversation, of course. If there is a serious conversation about security guarantees, we are ready to engage. And again, the Istanbul model is very much to our help here. As for the Security Council, this is one example where UN can be involved, but this is something for a later stage to discuss, to decide. So far we are facing just attempts of Zelensky and his backers to undermine the spirit of Alaska and to absolutely make it impossible for any peace talks or negotiations, meaningful peace talk and negotiations on the Ukrainian crisis.
Ambassador, I want to ask you about Gaza. I want to ask you about Gaza, please. Do you think the war in Gaza is an active genocide? And do you think the Security Council is doing enough about what's going on there?
Security Council is definitely not doing enough, but it's not because of the lack of determination from the members of the Security Council. It's because of the position of one member state. There are a lot of elements of the situation in Gaza which are extremely worrying, and I think it's up to international bodies to give legal classification to this, but of course this is something extraordinary. This is something that we should not all tolerate as human beings, as diplomats, as members of the Security Council. And Russia is ready to engage with everyone who wants to change this situation. Unfortunately, the United States so far is very much siding with Israel and giving green light to any action in Gaza, which is very deplorable.
But does Russia consider it a genocide?
I told you that it's not up to Russia to make such a conclusions, because genocide is a legal term and it should be used by those who have legal instruments to qualify it like this. But what is happening there is absolutely unacceptable, and it's absolutely shameful for us all to witness what is happening.
Can I ask about Iran? The Russians have proposed, circulated a draft proposal that would extend...
The Russians means we, yeah?
Yes. Okay. You have circulated a draft proposal that would extend the sanctions relief for 6 months. What has been the response from other members of the Security Council, and do you have any support for this?
It's not about sanctions relief for 6 months, but it's about Resolution 2231 extension. And actually, Russia and China, as responsive members of JCPOA, want to give more breathing space for diplomacy and provide some possibilities for engaged diplomatic quest for diplomatic solution to this issue. I think this is in the interest of all the parties, because there are a lot of belligerent initiatives which would absolutely make the situation much worse. we think that the choice of international community should be in favor of peace and diplomacy and not in favor of war. And that's what our draft is about. Now it is being circulated. The second version is being circulated among Security Council members right now as we speak. Hopefully it will be acceptable, and I think that it will be kind of a litmus test for those who really want to uphold diplomatic efforts and for those who don't want any diplomatic solution but just want to pursue their own nationalist, selfish agendas against Iran. So we'll see quite soon.
Thank you, Ambassador. On the extension of UNIFIL mandate, is there any breakthrough, and do you think the Council will be able to adopt and renew the mandate by the end of this week? If not, what are the options?
I think we have to do it at the end of this week, and we are actively working on this. Experts are working day and night. I think that they are moving to a solution which would be acceptable for everybody, including Lebanon. That's what we first and foremost have in mind, and that would not undermine the security situation in this country. One more last question, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's going back to the Nord Stream issue. This is a follow-up. There has been this recent arrest in Italy. So you just say that Germany is not doing its job, but apparently this person, this Ukrainian national, was arrested and is accused of being the leader of who did the terrorist attack, or however you want to call it, on Nord Stream. So after this news, did you change something in your speech at the Security Council after this, or you think that there is nothing changed after this arrest?
I was preparing my speech in Security Council exactly with this in mind, so there was no need for any change there. I can tell you that this version is, don't know what English word to use, diplomatically very questionable, because they ask us to believe that a group of amateur divers are capable of putting a device, explosive device, at the depth of 80 meters in the center of Baltic Sea, which is every inch of it is being monitored by NATO member states, and nobody is aware of this, and nobody is helping these guys, and they are absolutely rogue actors without any help. This is for a Hollywood movie, but not for real life. So I am not saying that these people are not involved, and we would be very much interested to learn the details of the German investigation, but in our understanding they might be mere scapegoats, because they were not acting alone, if it is so, and we don't have any reasons to believe in this or against this. But the problem is not in what has been found. The problem is that the Security Council and the international community are being kept in the dark about this kind of investigation for about 3 years already. And those who are behind this are still not being held accountable for what they did. And that's our task, and I think it should be the task of the whole of international community to bring them to justice.